Half a year after the divorce, my cousin introduced me to a man who had been divorced 3 times. Not only had he been divorced 3 times, but he also had a son with psychological disorders. My cousin said that the man worked on a ship all year round and could earn millions a year, but could only go home twice a year. If we could get married, he would send all the money he earned back, but the condition was that I helped him take care of his son. In fact, I wanted to refuse in my heart, but under the persuasion of my cousin, I decided to meet him first. The first time I met Ling Chun was in the Sichuan restaurant downstairs from the company. He was wearing a royal blue sweatshirt. He was a man in his late 40s with a strong frame and a shaved head. His appearance was not outstanding, but he looked clean and tidy. My sister showed me his photo before I came, and also told me his basic situation. He was 38 years old and had an annual salary of 1 million. He was divorced and had a 15-year-old son. He was in the first year of high school at a key city school and had suicidal tendencies. Divorce once might be due to emotional discord or being apart for too long, but the problem is different twice or 3 times. Could it be that he has a tendency to domestic violence, or he is unwilling to hand over his salary after marriage, just to deceive people into taking care of his son? I looked up and down at the elder brother in front of me who is 10 years older than me. He looks quite gentle and honest, especially when he smiles. There is a silly taste. Is it convenient to ask why you and your ex-wife divorced? Lin Chung smiled embarrassedly, revealing 2 deep dimples and a mouthful of white and neat teeth. My son was born to my first wife. His family was well off. I only made more than 3,000 yuan a month at that time. His parents introduced him to a boss, so I was forced to divorce. The elder brother rubbed his hands, and a blush appeared on his wheat-colored skin. His eyes were fixed on the dishes on the plate in front of him. He was too embarrassed to look up at me. It is said that if a man is bullied like this, he must hate his ex-wife's family. Now that he has financial strength, he should be proud and think that the other party is blind. But I see that the elder brother not only has no hatred, but he is quite inferior when he talks about it. Could it be that the next 2 divorces were related to his ex-wife? Your first wife was very beautiful. I've seen photos of your son, he looks like a mixed race. I was embarrassed to ask directly how the next 2 divorces took place. The smile on my eldest brother's face was a little awkward. He shook his head. I don't have much aesthetic taste. I'm a little face blind. I don't like to stare at faces. The dishes came up and we ate a little. Then I asked him again, why did the last 2 happen? Tell me if I can accept it. His originally flushed face turned a little pale at this time. His lips trembled twice. My son pondered over every word for a long time. Finally, he put down his chopsticks, sighed. It's useless to hide it. From you, my son has some psychological problems. I know he has suicidal tendencies, right? He nodded, just because someone has to stare at him at this moment. But he is now in his rebellious teenage period. He really doesn't like others staring at him. Ling Chen is really not very picky about women. My sister also told him about my basic situation, 28 years old with a monthly salary of 3,000, unstable and likes to write articles, married to my ex-husband for 2 years because of long we are, divorced after a Cold War and have no children. Let's get to know each other first. I am quite satisfied with my eldest brother. Besides his high salary, which allows me to stay at home and write manuscripts, it is rare to find a man who looks for reasons in himself after the divorce. He looks silly, but can actually support a family. In fact, I think you are very good, a person who lives a down-to-earth life. My eldest brother lowered his eyes and smiled shyly. Then I realized that he had very long eyelashes, with an upward arc at the end of his eyes. He was almost 40 years old and had no wrinkles on his face except for his wheat-colored skin. It was just a meal. How did you tell? I asked with a smile. He handed me a tissue and analyzed it to me while scanning the code to pay the bill. Your hands are clean, you don't have nails, you don't speak aggressively, and you consider issues from both sides' perspectives. Also, you didn't show any emotion when you praised my ex-wife for her beauty. After he finished speaking, he shook the screen of his mobile phone. It was the payment interface. Cost 79 yuan. We haven't confirmed our relationship yet. It's only right to go AA for the meal. Yes, he didn't need to say anything. I understood this action. I immediately took out my mobile phone, ready to add him as a friend and transfer the money, but I saw him put the phone away again, folded his hands and rubbed them. This store is opened by my friend. He said it was the first time someone brought a blind date to his store to eat Sichuan food that cost less than 100 yuan. His observation of details was so keen. This man is not as stupid as he looks. I couldn't help but look at him again. How about this? If you also think you can get along, I will take you home to meet my son in the next 2 days. See if you can accept it. He hesitated after he said that, visibly nervous. His brows were deeply furrowed, but he couldn't help but emphasize, I really think you are very good. If it can work out, I will give you 1 million as a betrothal gift and then take 500,000 for you two to use. Tomorrow it happens to be the weekend and early morning. After exchanging contact information, I went back to the company to tell my sister about the situation. Everything else is fine. My eldest brother always looks very nervous when he mentions his son, which makes me vaguely confused. With such economic conditions, few people would mind having 2 sons, let alone 1. Although the children have some problems, they are high school students and do not need to worry too much about their lives. At most, they can keep an eye on them. Sister, how well do you know Lin Cheng's son? Does he reject his stepmother? My sister is the same as Lin Cheng. It's hard to explain. He doesn't reject it, but you'll know when you meet him. He's a little rebellious. Don't scare him into hitting people. No, he won't do it. I'm not in a hurry to get married, but I'm too curious about how a 15-year-old high school student with suicidal tendencies scared away his first two stepmothers. The next morning, I bought some gifts and, in the early morning, drove to the villa area with the best environment in the city center. This is the Key School District, right? Wei Mingxian bought it when he went to school. It was quite cheap here at that time. It's called Le Mingxuan. Well, it was given by my grandfather. The car was parked in the garage of the villa. Lin Chang took me in. It was a bit messy. I had cleaned it yesterday. He was a rough man. It's not that detailed. I stood by the shoe cabinet in the entrance hall and put on the new women's slippers that Lin Chang handed me. I glanced around the room. It was quite clean, but the things were not arranged in an orderly manner and were a bit messy. Mingxian refused to ask an aunt, so you might have to clean it up. He only took care of his own room. High school students have little rest time, and it's a rare weekend. Lin Mingxian hadn't woken up yet, so I sat on the sofa and chatted with Lin Chang. I asked him the reason for his suicide several times. Lin Chang couldn't explain it clearly. In short, there was no sign and no contradiction. Afterwards, Lin Mingxian refused to say anything, so I asked him not to lock his room at home. I also removed the door lock of the bathroom in his room. There was all-round surveillance in the room. He said that he was afraid that I would mind, so he hurriedly shook his head and explained that there was no surveillance in our room, and it was all aimed at him. Even so, I still felt a little uncomfortable. A 15-year-old boy is not a child. He has no absolute private space and no privacy. Living under the surveillance of his family is suffocating. Does he have any objections? He is quite well behaved. He is willing to listen no matter how many times I say it. I was wondering what such a well-behaved child could do when I heard slow footsteps upstairs. I looked up and saw a boy in a white t-shirt and gray shorts. He rubbed his long hair on top of his head and walked down the stairs with half-opened eyes. He was the same as in the photo. This child looks very outstanding. Unlike his father's wheat-colored skin tanned by wind and sun, he has cold white skin. Except for the color of his eyes, he looks especially like the little prince of ancient Europe. His hair is so long, and he doesn't know how to cut it. He doesn't look like a student. He will go to cut it in the afternoon when he knows. Unlike the nervous and shy attitude when he is with me, when facing his son, Lin Chang immediately put on the aura of a parent, but then he felt that he shouldn't be in front of me and not give the child face. He quickly pulled up the corners of his mouth and smiled and introduced, "This is you." He directly froze me and hurried to save the situation. Zhang Wen can just call me Aunt Wen. Aunt Wen 15-year-old children are rebellious and more likely to reject the role of stepmother. I thought I would be made difficult or at least treated coldly. Lin Mingxian is very well behaved, and seems calmer and more generous than Lin Chang. He has been looking at me, and his eyes are on my face the longest. Is Wen Yi going to marry my dad? We booked a hotel room for noon. Lin Chang went to order food. Lin Mingxian sat opposite me, supporting her chin with one hand and looking at me with squinting eyes. Her eyelashes are very long and dense. We had a good chat. Today I mainly want to hear your opinion. I disagree, but she can't get on the boat with peace of mind without anyone watching me. I can only agree. You are very straightforward and say what you want to say, which is very good. It's best to be mentally prepared. That's my home. I won't change my living habits just because there's one more person living in. It's different from when Lin Chang is around. When Lin Chang is not around, Lin Mingxuan's obedience will disappear and he will become sharp and strong. However, this is not enough to make both stepmothers divorce. How was the chat? Lin Chang came back with 3 bottles of yogurt in his hand. He put one in front of each of us. He looked at Lin Mingxian and said, "You are a good artist. We are going to get the certificate as soon as possible." Lin Mingxian stared at me meaningfully with a slightly sad smile. Yes, there are always people who make the wrong choice for money, and then suffer for this choice and finally flee. Mingxian, okay, I won't say anything. Lin Mingxian opened the yogurt and took a sip. Suddenly, he put the bottle he had drunk when he handed it to me. Lin Chang was about to scold him for being impolite. I calmly moved the bottle of yogurt to Lin Chang, then took the unopened bottle, unscrewed it and took a sip. His provocation was too easy to understand. I didn't have to accept it. On Monday, a working day, Lin Chang and I hurriedly got the marriage certificate and moved the luggage into the new home. In fact, Lin Chang should have gone to sea a long time ago, but because he couldn't find someone to take care of Lin Mingxian, he had been dragging it on for so long. If he was any later, the season would be delayed. Now there is a signal on the ship most of the time, but there are also sea areas that cannot be contacted. I will tell you in advance that you don't have to worry too much about Mingxian. He is fine. Just take the trouble to check on his condition every 2 hours, especially at night. If he does anything excessive, you tell me and I will call and scold him. This child is still obedient. Don't be afraid then. On the way to send Lin Chang to the ship, he explained everything in detail. The heavy luggage on his body kept sliding down. I wanted to wave my hand to help him so that I wouldn't have to work hard. He doesn't look like a man with an annual salary of 1 million. He looks like a dock worker with a hard life. I remember everything you said. Be careful on the boat. I will always pay attention to Li Mingxuan's situation. Don't worry. The roar of large fishing boats sailed away from the coastline. I looked into the distance and suddenly felt a little distressed. This 1 million is not a small amount for those of us who earn 3,000 a month. It's also he worked hard in dangerous seas, risking his life year after year. I have seen his wardrobe, which is full of work clothes worth 100 yuan. They were faded and deformed after washing, but he would still wear them as long as they were not torn. I believe Lin Mingxian saw all this, so even in his rebellious period, he was very obedient in front of Ling Chun. What about him in front of me after Ling Chun left? On the way back, I couldn't help thinking about this question. Day students don't have evening self-study. When I got home, I saw warm light coming from the second floor from a distance. Lin Mingxian came home from school. Just as I opened the door and entered the house, he came down from the second floor, probably to get ice water from the refrigerator. He was holding a transparent kettle in his hand. It was a very ordinary encounter, but at the first sight of him, I was so scared that I stood there in a daze, almost turned around and ran away. Li Mingxian was not wearing anything, he was naked at home. At the age of 15, he was not a child anymore. Although his frame was as slender as that of a teenager, he was also tall and straight. If you don't talk about his age, he is almost the same as a 20-year-old adult boy. I'm sorry. What's that? I'll wait for you to come back to the room. I quickly turned around with my back to him, secretly blaming myself for coming home at the wrong time, or I should have sent him a message in advance to let him know that I was coming home and make preparations in advance. It's okay. Unexpectedly, a faint sneer came from behind. Li Mingxian was not as nervous as I was. He put on his slippers and calmly walked through the living room, walked to the refrigerator, and poured the kettle. Pour ice water in the room, you just get used to it. I'm like this at home. What did it take me a long time to react? What he meant was that even with his stepmother present, he liked to run around naked at home. New here, deep in my heart, I felt unnaturally nervous about living under someone else's roof, and I also knew that I was an outsider. Okay, then I'll try not to watch it. You don't have to pay for it. Commercial performance, maybe this made him unhappy. He didn't say anything. The footsteps upstairs were a little faster. I turned around and changed my slippers when I heard the footsteps entering the room. And by the way, sent a message to Lin Chang, your son just treated me to a bodybuilding show. It seems that he is very confident about his body. It's a good thing with a good network. In the early morning on the surveillance, you can see all the images except our room. 5 minutes later, I received a reply. Don't be afraid that I will say something about him. 15 minutes later, there was a knock on my door. Lin Mingxian stood at the door with a sullen face, one hand on the door frame, with some meaning of leaning forward. He gritted his teeth and said, "You told my dad about me, it doesn't count. He can see it on the surveillance camera. You even knew to wear shorts." Then he came to question me. I was very relieved. "You can wear whatever you want. I'm just sharing my life with my husband," he said. You. The tit-for-tat meaning was too obvious. Lin Mingxian was not right. He glanced at me out of the corner of his eye, shook his hand and turned away. "Are you having dinner tonight? I'm full just by seeing you." "That's good. You can look at me more to save me from doing it." According to Ling Chen's instructions, every 2 hours, I would check on Lin Mingxian's condition to ensure that if he had any problems, they could be discovered within the rescue time. Lin Mingxian was obviously unhappy about this, but he promised Ling Chen that he would not close the door, so he had to endure it no matter how unhappy he was. He went to school during the day, and I used the empty room at home to decorate an antique study, and then stayed in it to write manuscripts. I took a picture of the decorated study and showed it to Ling Chen. His hearty laughter came from the sea on the other side, with the scorching sun and the salty sea breeze, which made my mood open up. I have always liked Chinese-style study rooms, but unfortunately I don't have the heart to decorate them. Can I borrow it when I go back to have some fun? I'll wait for my husband to come home and drink tea and burn incense. Very good, very good. If you buy something that you can't move, you can pay someone to help, or you can use Mingxian, so don't tire him out. I responded to his careful instructions one by one. The signal over there was not good, so we didn't talk much. I hung up the video and turned around to see Lin Mingxian leaning against the door frame in his school uniform outside the open study door. We were rude to each other. After dinner, I went back to my room to take a shower and go to bed. Li Mingxian would always study until about 2 o'clock, and then curl up on his pure black bed and fall asleep like an abandoned kitten. We got along peacefully like this for a month or two. Except for a meal in the evening, I didn't need to take care of anything for the high school student. In my free time, considering that he was tired in class, I offered to help him wash clothes and tidy up the room. He would always look at me with disgust and nausea, and say that if you dare to touch my things, I would throw them away immediately. In this case, I simply didn't care and let him tell me when he needed something. On the first day I came here, I set the alarm to ring every 2 hours as Ling Chen suggested. I was always woken up by the alarm clock before, but not this day. It was not yet late at night, and I had just slept for a while in a daze, not very well. I could always hear bursts of screams in my sleep, faintly reaching my ears. At first I thought I was dreaming, but after slowly waking up, I realized that the sound came from home in the room. Lin Mingxian was watching some horror movie to relieve stress. When I listened carefully, I heard those strange gasps again. I was very sleepy. If it were a normal child, I would continue to sleep, but Lin Mingxian was different. I was afraid that something had happened to him, so I could only get dressed and go out to confirm the situation. Who knew that this one glance almost left me with a lifelong psychological trauma? The door of Lin Mingxian's room was still open, with only a study lamp. On the computer in front of him, some extreme and disgusting colors were playing. In the picture, the poor woman was screaming heartbreakingly, and in front of such a picture, Lin Mingxian was curled up in a chair, his back to the door, his feet folded on the table, and he was actually doing something that should not be seen by others. He seemed to know that I was coming, but he was unmoved. I vaguely heard a provocative chuckle from his throat. I didn't give him any private space in the early morning. He promised not to close the door, but at this time he didn't close the door. I was horrified. I should have turned around and left, but my footsteps were heavy and fixed in place, and the whole person was unable to move like a piece of wood. Until nearly 10 minutes later, he finished and said without looking back, "Less than 2 hours, it scared you awake. Well, the sound of your computer is a little loud." I don't know how I talked to him calmly. It should have been embarrassing to encounter such a thing. I felt cold all over because of the videos in his computer. I finally knew why the two wives divorced in the early morning, why they gave up and lived a miserable life at home with $1 million a year. A 15-year-old boy watching the bloody and extremely violent scenes to relieve his desires. He felt excited in the face of such tragedy. It was too harmful. The person in front of me was not a prostitute, but a violent criminal who was gradually forming, an executioner who might butcher at any time. "Why do you like to watch this?" He was surprised that I didn't run away, but it was only for a moment. After pulling up his pants, he turned to look at me. The blush between his eyebrows had not yet dissipated, and he was crazy. "Don't you think that some people in the world should be treated like this? It's a pity that I can't do it. Otherwise there will be more cruel means." The night wind blew against the window that was not closed tightly. The whistling sound of the wind was like the ghosts of hell crying, taking advantage of Lin Mingxuan's half-bright and half-dark expression, which became more sinister. "I can probably understand the way you vent your emotions. I really didn't expect that I still had the courage to walk into his room, sit down on the carpet beside his bed, look up at his slightly puzzled eyes, and ask, 'Can you tell me who your target is?' Of course I will keep it a secret." He sneered and raised his finger to point at the camera above my head. "Secret? I have no secrets. He has no privacy. For him, every moment is running naked. You know, I hate women, all women." He stared at me. The strong resentment in his eyes was very scary. His fingers pinched the edge of the table so hard that they turned white, and he gritted his teeth and stressed every word. "They all deserve to die." Surrounded by the surging black emotions, I was dazed for a moment, because he said everything, but the words he used were not "you, but them." That is to say, I have not been planned to put him on the list of people who deserve to die because of your biological mother, right? You think he abandoned you, so you hate him, do you? After hesitating, I still asked, "Have you been abused by your stepmother?" This time Lin Mingxian didn't answer. I don't know what's hidden in his heavy eyes. The storm is calm and deep, so deep and scary, not like a teenager. The first time I saw him coming down from upstairs without clothes, a child with slender bones, with a not very obvious white scar on his chest, from the shoulder to the abdomen. Now look carefully, he has a lot of scars on his body. Young people have good healing abilities, and only a shallow white scar is left, blending with his cold white skin. "Go back to sleep. You've talked so much." In the middle of the night, he almost acquiesced, and turned his head to stop staring at me. His eyes drooped to block his vision, forming a wall of self-protection. "I'm afraid you'll commit suicide, so you stay and sleep with me." No, I'm even more afraid that you're going to kill me." I hurriedly got up, waved and left, but when I got to the door, I was worried about me going back. "You can call me if you want to chat. There is no surveillance in my room, and there is no surveillance in the early morning. There must be more problems between them and the two women behind. There is a time difference at sea." When I sent him a message, he was still working. He didn't reply until he was free an hour later. Lin Chang didn't want to mention these things. He had to tell me the hidden truth when I pressed him. After divorcing Lin Mingxuan's mother, Lin Chang wandered the streets with the child for a while and didn't even have food to eat. That year, Lin Mingxian was 5 years old. Lin Chang took the child alone and helped others drive and transport goods. In order to save hotel money, they basically lived in the car. In winter, the broken van leaked air and the child fell ill every other day. He had no choice but to take the child to find the child's grandparents to see if they could help take care of him for a winter. That was the first time Lin Mingxian had seen his mother and grandparents since he could remember. He was so happy when he went there. He picked out his favorite clothes from a pile of tattered clothes and also picked out some in the canteen. Kept saying, "I will definitely repay you. Please, I only have a dad." He went at the wrong time. It happened that his mother's newly remarried big boss came to pick them up. Grandpa and Grandma were panicked. Seeing that they couldn't drive him away with a mop and a chair, Grandpa hit him hard on the back with a chair, picked up his arm with a broken shoulder, dragged him out of the community, and threw him into the ditch outside that was emitting a foul smell. No one knew how Lin Mingxian, who couldn't swim, climbed out of the stinky water, and no one knew how much pain he was in. They only knew that he begged people one by one on the road, and finally saved Lin Cheng's life. From then on, the words mother and mother never appeared in his mouth again. Later, it was my fault. Lin Cheng thought that if there was someone in the family who could take care of Lin Mingxian, he could rent a cheaper house and let the mother and son stay in the rental house, instead of having to live in the car with him. When he was young, Lin Cheng was as fair and likable as Lin Mingxian. Someone introduced him to a woman who came back from a big city. He agreed without thinking. He abused Lin Mingxian, didn't he? I saw many wounds on his body. Well, Mingxian never told me. Lin Mingxian was only in elementary school. He didn't know what marriage meant. He only knew that the woman was at home. He would have a hot meal when he came back in the early morning. and he wouldn't worry about him when he left. He was one way in front of me and another way in front of the child, but I didn't notice it at all at that time until Mingxian was seriously injured and bleeding, ran to the neighbors for help, and was sent to the hospital by the big brother next door. Then I learned that she had been discovered selling meat in a big city before, and she couldn't get married when she came back, and she had to find me. She had to find a man she didn't like, and she had to take care of her little burden. For a woman who was used to a wealthy life outside, how much resentment she had in her heart that had nowhere to vent, you can imagine. After that, Lin Cheng found a job on the ship. An old master saw that she was down to earth and able to endure hardships and was willing to teach her hand. But no one took care of Lin Mingxian. How could he feel at ease? He had been away for more than half a year and hadn't returned home. The woman had heard that the income on the boat was high and refused to divorce. She knelt on the ground and begged Lin Cheng to give him a chance, promising that he would treat Lin Mingxian well and would never beat the child again. As a result, the harvest was not good that year, the boat had problems, and it missed the season. No one made any money, and they returned home in despair. After returning home, he asked for a divorce. He went crazy and smashed everything in the house. If I hadn't protected him, a whole pot of boiling water would have been poured on Mingxian. Lin Cheng didn't elaborate on the pot of boiling water. It was not until I saw him changing clothes later that I saw a large area of burns on his back. What about the later incident? Originally, I wanted Lin Cheng to explain it all at once. Suddenly, there was a storm over there. The letter seemed to be blown away by the sea breeze and thrown away. The voice was intermittent and incoherent, and then the call was cut off. Do you want to know how my previous stepmother got divorced? The sudden appearance of the young man's voice scared me. In order to always pay attention to Lin Mingxuan's movements, I would not close the door when I rest. Chulai English. Leaving a small gap, at this time Lin Mingxian was standing in the gap outside the door, and there was a clear hint of ridicule and sarcasm in his tone. He eavesdropped quietly outside for a long time. I'll tell you directly. After all, I am the one who knows the truth. He eavesdropped on my phone call without permission, but did not break into my room without permission. He raised his hand and knocked on the door twice. Can you come in? Yes. After getting my affirmative answer, Lin Mingxian pushed open the door, holding a bottle of steaming Coke on his fingertips, with a lazy posture, and casually nestled in the sofa beside my bed. You have been in my house for almost a month, more than a month. I remember you have experienced 2 monthly exams, and the teacher said that you have made great progress and you may also be able to enter the sprint class. You also joined the parent group of my class. Lin Mingxian smiled with an unclear meaning, with rejection and nausea. He turned his head to hide the emotions that flashed in his eyes, and his eyes trembled slightly. I pretended not to see it. Your father is not at home. These are all I should care about. In the quiet night, only the wind occasionally passed through the window, making the mess outside the window. The reflection of the branches hit the glass. Like you, he was introduced by others. He used to be a switchboard operator in the maintenance center of the community. He was silent for a long time, slowly raised his head, and looked at the ordinary round ceiling lamp on the ceiling. At that time, we had some money and had already bought this house. The conditions my father gave him were similar to those he gave you. As long as he could take good care of me, all his salary would be handed over to him. That woman was very different when she first came into the house. He was very enthusiastic to please Ling Chun and his son, allowing the 2 wandering men to experience the warmth of family for the first time. That should be the most cheerful period of time for Lin Mingxian. It was because of the beauty of that period that Lin Mingxian made amazing progress in his studies. He jumped from a drifting student in the drifting class to the top few in the top class. But the ups and downs of this father and son did not end there. Such a beautiful life lasted for less than 2 years. That day, Lin Mingxian came home from school and heard him talking to Ling Chen on the phone. The words he said were very unpleasant, as if because of that year, Ling Chen's income was only over 800,000 yuan, which was different from what was promised to him. The junior high school student already had a complete concept of money. He didn't think they had to spend so much money at home, so he secretly observed the woman's consumption behavior. He used his mobile phone to search for items in the woman's room, and only found a large number of light luxury goods worth tens of thousands of yuan. He also found many receipts, more than 1,000 manicures, more than 2,000 hairstyles, and even more than 5,000 for a meal, and tens of thousands of plastic surgery bills. Lin Mingxian got angry at the time and told Lin Cheng about it in a rage. But Lin Cheng was honest and had no temper. He always liked to be considerate of others. He felt that although this woman spent money lavishly, she was good to the children and had never treated Lin Mingxian badly. He said that people who suddenly had money would be more free and easy, with the same mentality of nouveau riche. It's okay, Dad has set up all the roads now, and he will earn more than this in the future. Ling Chen was right. Although the woman was lavish, she had never treated Lin Mingxian badly. She could even be said to be caring. She even bought Lin Mingxuan's underwear. He personally took me to pick out the socks, so although Lin Mingxian was angry, he didn't really think about what would happen until his 3rd year in junior high school. I was sitting on the bed, reading a book. While Lin Mingxian was talking, he suddenly stood up, came close to me, knelt on the edge of the bed with one leg, leaned over and stared into my eyes, took my right hand and placed it on his neck, and then slid it down to his chest and abdomen little by little. Junior high school and high school are the development stages of boys. Lin Mingxian has a tall and straight body. Apart from the immaturity of a teenager, he is like a man radiating light and heat. He wanted to go down, but I realized the danger and pulled my hand back in panic. He just took my hand and put it on himself, letting me touch him, and then pulled off my pants. He didn't continue to say the rest. I saw the disgusting and repulsive look in his eyes. How could I not understand that the woman fell in love with her stepson and did the most wrong thing, leaving a third-year junior high school child with an indelible psychological shadow? Why did he leave later? Because of the scene you saw today, because he found the tools hoarded under my bed, because he knows that I am not afraid of death except for this house. Lin Chung doesn't care about life or death. The woman cursed, took away all the valuables, and ran away with her tail between her legs. I don't know when it started raining outside, and the temperature in the room became very low. I looked at Lin Mingxian, and the look in his eyes was as empty and numb as when he looked at me, without any emotion. I was listening to other people's stories and he was telling other people's stories. Why did he suddenly want to tell me that he could pretend to be anything that you think is conducive to survival, whether it is a loving mother and a filial son, or the years are peaceful and good? I tell you to warn you, if you want to live a good life, just be honest. Yeah, remember, I didn't refute his targeting, nodded lightly, and went to sleep. Your stepmother will take you to get revenge on vacation. You are not needed. I can't stand cowardice. You and your father's style of swallowing anger can suffocate me. Lin Mingxian thought that I said just like that, but I didn't expect that at 6 o'clock in the morning on the first day of the weekend, I was dragged out of bed by me and took an intercity bus straight to run to the address of his biological mother. Are you sick? Zhang Wen, I need you to help me get revenge. Please have some basic respect for your stepmother and call me Aunt Wen, or I will tell your father. This trivial matter should be resolved properly. Lin Mingxuan's growing hatred will always be for Kulei. God knows when it will explode. Two grown men can't be bullied like this. Jiang Datong, the boss of Xingjiangsheng Enterprise, is the remarried son of Lin Mingxuan's biological mother. The boss mainly deals in healthcare products and low-end skincare products. Although the company is not big, it makes a lot of money every year. It cheats customers and employees, cheating suppliers and being involved in lawsuits. I took Lin Mingxian straight to the rival company in Jiangqing and asked to meet their boss. The boss of a small business basically works in the company except for socializing. I sent him several pieces of information that I collected overnight, and from him, I got the contact information of Jiang Datong and Lin Mingxuan's biological mother. Lin Mingxian was confused the whole time until I sent a message to his biological mother on the bus on the way back. He rubbed his newly grown hair and asked, how did you find these things? We who work in human resources have our own set of inquiries. The system only needs a photo and a name, so a lot of useful information can be found in various personnel groups. For such a company, employees will definitely back up the evidence when they leave to ensure that they can get the final salary after leaving. Fortunately, I not only bought Jiang Datong but also got the screenshots of the chats with customers and suppliers, and got him and his mistress in the office. After returning home, everything was fine for a few days. When Lin Mingxian was in school, I had been paying attention to the current situation of Jiangxing Company. Sure enough, in less than a month, the local news public account broke the video. Jiang Deshang's wife caught him cheating in the office. The two fought in public and were both hospitalized. Within a few days, the mall company defaulted on the delivery because the supplier terminated the cooperation. Not only did it lose its most important customer, but it also paid a large amount of liquidated damages. The bank smelled the wind and immediately terminated the cooperation. Jiang Datong couldn't even get a loan to survive. In contrast, with the collapse of Jiangcheng, the business of the rival company soared, and it even took all the customers in its hands. It was only a matter of time before Jiangcheng died. How can I feel relieved? I took Lin Mingxian to the restaurant to improve our life and passed all the information I collected to him. We ordered a big bowl of pickled fish and boiled meat. Lin Mingxian kept silent for a long time with his eyelids drooped. Finally, he nodded, his voice a little hoarse. Don't let it get cold. He didn't say thank you, nor did he change his tit-for-tat attitude when talking to me, but at home, he would wear loose home clothes and no longer walk around in shorts. You don't need me to get information from your father about your two stepmothers. Send it to me. What are you trying to do? You are bored and looking for excitement. Can be seen that Li Mingxian hates me in his bones. Even though the matter has passed, he seems to think I am annoying, but at night he still sends all the information of the two women to my mobile phone. Lin Mingxuan's first stepmother doesn't need to retaliate at all. I also took a video and sent it to him. It was a dark and damp room less than 30 square meters. A 40-year-old woman looked like she was in her 50s. She sat on the bed skinny and forced a smile to the camera and made a charming gesture. The person who took the video asked how much it cost, and he said 40. Are you sick? Skewered, really. 30 is fine. Don't leave in a hurry. The woman's bed was a mess. It didn't look like she was cured. Even through the screen, I seemed to be able to smell the disgusting smell in the room. In the end, he paid the price for his choice and embarked on the road of no return that looked like sugar but was actually full of glass shards. Lin Mingxian, do you believe that evil will be punished? I looked at Lin Mingxian, who was lying on the river bank with empty eyes, moved my lips, but didn't answer. I looked at the orange-red setting sun in the sky from afar, like watching a song and dance that was about to end. It doesn't matter, you will believe it. I sent him another document. This document was the current situation of his second stepmother. A woman who originally had a monthly salary of $3,000 suddenly got $1 million salary. Income, her quality of life was rapidly improved, luxury brands, high-end food, perfect cosmetic surgery, magnificent residence. The plane was soaring at an altitude of 10,000 meters when it suddenly ran out of fuel, and all that was left was a fall without suspense. In just over a year, the woman's credit cards and various online loans were all blown up. She owed more than $1.8 million. Her private photos were posted everywhere, and she was beaten into the hospital many times by debt collectors. Lin Mingxian, hatred sometimes does not require extreme means to resolve. Although you have not been in contact for a long time, they are all silently paying attention to you. You are living a good life, which is more painful than killing them. Don't preach to me, let's talk about reality. Your father came back early this year, and we will go to the Pacific on New Year's Day. Pick him up, play together at the beach for a few days before going home. Other children would be happy to hear that their father would go home early and the whole family could go out to play together. However, Lin Mingxian looked frowning. He hummed casually and didn't eat much for dinner. It wasn't just him. The man opposite in the video chat at night and in the early morning also smiled reluctantly. He looked like an old ship washed by the sea. He frowned weakly and tried to please others with his words. How long can we rest this time? It might be a bit long, maybe until the beginning of the year. He choked in his throat and the corners of his eyes were a little red, which was not very obvious on his wheat-colored skin. The corners of his mouth were pulled up, and his smile was uglier than crying. What injustice had he suffered? Who would injustice me on the boat? The wind and waves were strong. It's just a little bit. Then it settled. Li Mingxian and I will pick you up at sea on New Year's Day. Okay, he agreed twice absent-mindedly, and cut off the video on the pretext of going out of the cabin to take a look. For a period of time afterwards, the father and son were exactly the same, both like eggplants hit by frost. Even Lin Mingxian's tone towards me became soft. Occasionally, he helped me take care of the hygiene of the public areas, and brought me chicken racks when we passed by the fried chicken shop on the way home. To be honest, the attitude of you and your son is like a group of people who went out for prostitution and got caught. Lin Mingxian bit his chopsticks with a crunching sound. Zhang Wen, can you speak human language? Call me Aunt Wen or Mom. There is no word mom in my dictionary. Give up. Before New Year's Day, I packed some thick winter clothes and daily necessities. Lin Mingxian took 2 days off in advance, and the two of them dragged their suitcases to the port and took a cheap small yacht that they had booked in advance. According to the plan, we would meet up with Lin Chang, who was resupplying the fishing boat, at the nearest port outside, and then take the fishing boat he drove back to experience life on a fishing boat. Lin Chang was absent-minded during this period, and the signal was not very good. Until we got on the small yacht and sent him a message, he sent us a video in the awakening class. Mingxian and 1-1, you really set off. Yes, on the yacht we said we would pick you up at sea. I forgot. I took Lin Mingxian and waved to him on the video. Lingqian forced a smile, raised his hand to wipe his face. How about you guys play around and then take the yacht back? Life on a fishing boat is very hard. I'm afraid this the first time you come here to experience this hardship, right? Zhang Wangshu and I patted Lin Mingxian's shoulder, ignored the roll of his eyes when he turned his head, and continued to talk to Lingqian. The child wants to see dad. I want to see my husband. What's there to be afraid of hardship? Lin Chang on the other end of the video kept rubbing his face and hands. He was almost 40, and he smiled like a shy fool and soon fell into melancholy after laughing. The corners of his eyes began to turn red again. I don't know what was choking in his throat, and he kept swallowing. Seeing his appearance, Lin Mingxian next to him blinked, got up and said he was going to the bathroom, and ran away. I won't tell you anymore. You hurry up and call us. The winter sea breeze brought salty and wet coolness. We finally met up with Lin Chan at the small port 3 days later. He wore a dark green raincoat and took Lin Mingxian and me to the nearest restaurant for a grilled fish meal. Before we got on the boat, he took off his raincoat for me and helped me button it up carefully. It was windy outside and the umbrella couldn't be held. Don't get caught in the rain. It's only a few steps away. Besides, why aren't you too afraid of catching a cold? We both have thick skin and flesh, so we won't get cold. Lin Chang is 10 years older than me, and he took better care of me than he did of Lin Mingxian. There was a gap in the wooden step for getting on the boat, and he was afraid that I would step into it, so he had to carry me on his back. The crew on the boat all laughed at him, old Joe, and they wished they could worship their new daughter-in-law. But jokes were jokes, and after laughing, the faces of several crew members were depressed again. Some of them sighed leisurely as they walked away, and some wiped their faces and shook their heads. What's wrong? They are going home to reunite soon. I feel sad for some reason. It's okay. We're just tired. Don't think too much. Life on a fishing boat is not as good as on a yacht. But Lin Chang has his own small room, which he kept clean and tidy before picking us up. Lin Mingxian, however, squeezed into the dormitory with the crew, leaving the independent space for us. It rained when we got on the boat. Lin Chang was changing clothes in the corner. The water droplets on her hair slid down her muscular back and stayed at her waist. She tilted slightly like a wine vessel, pouring the mellow wine into the secret place under the man. I'll help you wipe it. I got up and took the towel from her hand and rubbed the skin on her back. It was at this moment that I saw the healed old burns on his back and countless scars of different sizes. The hot steam from his body rolled over, bringing a reassuring breath. I stroked the wounds and asked him if it hurt. No, it was okay. He was different from Lin Mingxian. No matter what he went through, he never complained or cried. He just lived a not-so-peaceful life in silence. Okay, you rest first. I'll be back as soon as I finish my work. His back was taut and stiff. Suddenly, he held my hand, quickly put on his clothes, and ran out of the cabin like a cat. I only saw a blush on his wheat-colored skin. Even the tips of his ears were red. I couldn't help but laugh secretly for a long time. When I was half asleep and half awake, Lin Chengkai finally came back. The wind and waves were strong at night, and the fishing boat was swaying. He hugged me from behind and rested his head on my shoulder. He put his arm around my shoulders and wrapped us tightly with the quilt. Like many couples on blind dates, there was a lack of emotional foundation between us. It was more of a liking for each other and a little bit of goodwill after weighing the pros and cons, so we were not that close when we were close together, but after being close for a long time, some changes appeared naturally. He became more and more angry, and turned his back to me as if he was afraid of being discovered. I like you very much, and you are also worthy of being liked in the early morning. I turned over and hugged his waist, and asked, "What about you? What do you think of me?" I said, "Very good. I like you very much." He didn't expect I was still awake, and his tone was a little panicked. He turned around and wanted to hug me, but he was hesitant and worried and didn't want to get close. I didn't know what his worries were, and I felt a little lost in my heart. I am not loyal to my husband, but I also care about my relationship with him. Is it attractive in front of my husband? There is nothing wrong with Lin Cheng's body, but he refuses to have intimate relations with me, which is a great blow to me. We have both been divorced, and I am not a little girl who needs to keep my chastity. Even if we are now legally married, go to sleep. I raised my head and kissed her. A wry smile appeared on the corner of my lips. I turned over and said nothing more. Lao Lin, get up and have a look. The waves are rising near the border. Everyone thought they could go home and reunite peacefully, but something happened in the early morning. The fishing boat was thrown high by the waves, and the sound of the wind and waves outside was like the howling of thousands of ghosts. Stay inside, don't go out. I quickly wrapped my clothes in the early morning to see the situation. I was tossed up and down inside, and I could feel the danger at the moment, but I couldn't help, so I could only hope silently that nothing would happen. I hadn't heard that there would be a storm at night. I knew there might be something under the boat. Be careful and tie up the ropes. I quickly got it done and returned to Songlong. Outside, I heard the heart-wrenching roars of the crew. As the ship rose and fell in the waves, it was sometimes clear and sometimes blurred. Suddenly, there was a loud bang of metal collision. I heard a voice saying, "Damn it! The door of the cargo hold was knocked open. Busan, didn't you lock it? Save the cargo hold quickly. That's all our harvest." Shut up. Who can spare a hand? When we got on the boat, Lin Cheng took Lin Mingxian and me to visit this fishing boat. We all knew where the door of the cargo hold was. I pushed open the small door and came out. Sure enough, I saw Lin Mingxian tying ropes around himself. Get ready to go out and close the cargo hold door. Give me the rope. I'm not going to cause any trouble. I ignored his gnashing teeth expression, snatched the rope and tied it to myself. You can help me control the length of the rope at this end, Li Mingxian said, but I don't have time to argue with me. I took a lock on the wall, turned around and rushed into the wind and waves. Zhang Wen was in charge of the boat above in the early morning. When he saw me rushing out in a single piece of clothing, he was so scared that he almost lost his soul. He shouted, "Mingxian, pull your mother back quickly. Don't listen to him, let go of the rope." Lin Mingxian knew my temper, so he obediently helped me wrap the rope at that end, and little by little put me near the cargo hold door. The fishing boat under the wind and waves was like a madman. Even if I held on to it firmly, I would still be injured. But in a hurry, there was no need to knowing the pain. I struggled to pry the hatch open, holding all kinds of strange marine fish and goods, and locked the bolt on the door. "Come on, pull me." Just when I was about to let Lin Mingxian pull me back, an unexpected situation happened. A huge wave hit and swept the entire fishing boat into the wave. With such a big force, Lin Mingxian couldn't hold the rope at all. I was washed out of the deck by the wave and fell off the stern. Damn. I heard Lin Mingxuan's hoarse roar in the seawater. I must have heard it wrong. That guy doesn't have mom in his dictionary. I laughed and thought he was calling me. I pulled the rope around my waist and held the railing of the boat tightly. He responded that I was fine. Take care of yourself first and don't get thrown out. Fortunately, there is a breathing time after a wave. Li Mingxian pulled the rope hard and pulled me onto the deck from the side. Then a crew member finished his work and came to help. He quickly pulled me back to the cabin and waited for the ship to pass the wind and waves. Ling Chun ran down from above and hugged me in his arms, as tight as if to crush my bones. I felt the man trembling. His hands and feet were cold. When he buried his head in my shoulder, warmth fell into my shoulder socket. Do you know that if you fall down in this situation, you can't pick it up? Okay, I'm fine. This time it's really thanks to Lao Lin's wife. That's us. We should have said less on this trip. Who three bastards? Can you be more careful? I told you how many times you didn't remember to lock the door. After the wind and waves subsided, no one was sleepy. 1/3 of the fish in the cargo hold was gone. A crew member raised his hand to wipe his face, as if he was about to cry. In the early morning, he lowered his head and sat silently beside me. One hand tightly grasped me, and his eyes drooped to cover his expression. Lin Mingxian buried his head in his arms. I poked his shoulder and teased him deliberately, saying that when he was outside, he heard someone calling Mom. Was it you? He turned his back to me and said nothing. Then he called me again. I don't mind you calling me old. Listen quickly or I won't sleep. You are not. Wait for your father to change you to a young and beautiful mother. Mom, is that enough? Zhang Wen said, I will go home and overturn your study. The awkward teenager finally couldn't bear it anymore and raised his head from his arms. He glared at me angrily, but his fair skin and eyes were as red as the morning glow in the sky. He didn't pose any threat at all. He looked more like a pitiful dog. When I smiled, the whole cabin smiled too. We got off the ship at the port and went to ship out the goods and divide the profits with the crew in the early morning. I took Lin Mingxian to book a homestay. When it was getting dark, Lin Chengkai came over on a shared bicycle, carrying heavy luggage and holding a mobile phone navigation. I saw that he was very tired, so I hurried forward with Lin Mingxian to help him take the luggage. Why didn't you take a taxi? He held my hand in Zhang Xian's, handed the luggage to Lin Mingxian, and casually said it was not far, we could take a taxi. We still have to wait. Even a fool can see that he is stingy with money. His excuse is pretty good. I am too lazy to expose him. Let's wash our hands and eat first. I ordered takeout and I am too lazy to go out. It is very quiet here at night. The sound of the waves is not too far or too close, just right. People who listen to it feel very peaceful. There is some light music in the room of the BB. I wrapped myself in the quilt and wrote on my mobile phone. I took a long shower in the early morning. When I came out, I was wrapped in water vapor. My eyebrows were drooping, and my muscles didn't relax. You look bad. What's wrong? She walked to the bed. I sat up and hugged her waist, buried my face in her tight abdominal muscles, rubbed them, and she lifted my chin and pushed me away. I have something to tell you. Seeing her serious look, I also became nervous. In fact, this time when we went out to sea, he sat on the edge of the bed, lowered his head and swallowed his saliva. It was just that we might not make any money this time, not much money. His eyes turned red again while he was talking. His slender and rough fingers were twisted together, and they turned white with force, like a prisoner confessing his crimes. I know you returned early and lost a lot of fish on the way. It is definitely not as good as before. Not only that, we only divided it this time 50,000 or 60,000. He was like a panicked bird, breaking into the hunter's blockade. As if facing a big I was walking on thin ice. My whole body was tense. Suddenly, he turned sideways and held my wrist tightly. Zhang Wen, I promise just this time next year will be fine. I can earn as much as before at the beginning of the new year. I promise you it will not change. In the early morning of the wedding day, he gave me 1.5 million and promised that I would have 1 million income every year in the future, as long as I help him take good care of Lin Mingxian. I looked at the man in front of me, looked at his panic and nervousness, looked at his cautiousness. I thought of his closet full of worthless clothes. In order to save a few dollars of taxi fare, he would rather carry the luggage and ride the shared bicycle in the early morning. Do you know how long 1.5 million can support an ordinary family? I know, but he doesn't know. His hands are shaking, and he dares not hold me anymore. He even lowers his head and buries it in his palms. He needs this 1 million annual salary so much. He wants to use this money to keep a relationship and a family. I seem to hear the compassion in his heart. His back stiffens. Under normal expenses, it can last for 10 years. I said, what are you worried about? Even if the income in the past 6 months is only 50,000 or 60,000, it is the normal income of an ordinary family. I hugged him and held the man trembling and tense. I wrapped your body in my arms. You have done your best. Li Mingxian also worked hard. He always ranked first in the class in every monthly exam. You gave me a very safe home outside the room. There was suddenly a hurried and messy sound of footsteps going away. I guess it was Lin Mingxian who was eavesdropping at the door. He knew Ling Chun would talk to me about income. When Ling Chun wanted to go home early, he was not very happy. He must be worried about money. When will you leave? Ling Chun has not relaxed yet, but there are spots of light in his eyes. He looked at me cautiously with that little hope. I held his face, looking at the man who was wasted by the years. You should have been handsome when you were young, but now you are just a little darker, with some scars and marks of time on your face. Lin Chung, don't use money to buy feelings, let alone try to use money to exchange for a family. I like you, and I see all your hard work and efforts. If I don't like you or you deliberately treat me badly, even if you give me 1 million a year, I can't keep you. The sea breeze at night is very strong and cool. The people around me are as hot as a stove. The fulfillment and sense of security wrapped in my arms are fascinating. Time has taken away the sunshine on Lin Chung, but he himself exudes brilliance. After being washed and precipitated by the sea water, it is as heavy as a gem. Stone, a night of wind and rain, he seemed to have no idea what tiredness was. I complained in a daze before falling asleep, and thought you looked down on me and didn't want to touch me. How could I have been so stingy all the time? When we were on the boat, you ran faster than a rabbit, afraid that I would eat you. The man was silent for a long time, until I thought he would not respond. When I was about to fall asleep, I heard a sigh in my ears. I didn't make any money. I thought you would leave. I didn't want you to feel at a disadvantage. The fool was too crazy at night, and when I woke up it was almost the next afternoon. I suddenly sat up and scared the early morning next to me. What happened? It was 3 o'clock. We had stayed there for half the night without taking care of him. Lin Mingxian was most likely to get into trouble when he let down his guard. Once he had suicidal thoughts at night, it had been so long that there was no chance of rescue. Lin Chang was also panicked when he heard this. We quickly put on the thick bathrobes of the hotel and rushed to Lin Mingxuan's room in a hurry. His homestay was a suite with 2 doors facing each other and a living room in the middle. Lin Mingxian closed the door today. When we passed the short distance to the living room, our hearts almost jumped out of our throats. Fortunately, the door was not locked and was opened by Lin Chang. The curtains were tightly closed. The light in the room was dim. I could only see a person lying on the soft big bed, with the quilt only covering his waist. Mingxian, get up, don't scare your dad. When Ling Chun rushed to the bed, he almost tripped over the sneakers on the ground. He threw himself on Li Mingxian, hugged his shoulders and shook him vigorously, shouting. I quickly opened the curtains to let the sunlight in so that I could check on Li Mingxuan's condition and his breathing. I'd better call an ambulance now. Is it a tsunami or an earthquake? Before I could finish my words, a hoarse and hazy boy's voice rang in Ling Chen's arms. Li Mingxian was not awake to begin with. Ling Chen was in a daze when he saw Ling Chen. Then he was startled, his eyes widened, he grabbed Ling Chen's collar, and shouted hoarsely and panically. Where's Zhang Wen? Did he run away? I'll go find him and bring him back. He pushed Ling Chen away, got out of bed and was about to rush out to find me. When one leg landed on the ground, he found me standing in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, looking at him like a fool. Time seemed to stand still. He just froze by the bed. I'm your stepmother, not a long-distance runner. Thank you for thinking highly of me. Don't panic, don't panic. Where is your mother? She looks okay. Ling Chen finally breathed a sigh of relief and patted her on the back to comfort me. This breath was just right. I was about to relax when suddenly a black shadow pounced in front of me. My waist suddenly tightened and I fell into a warm embrace. Lin Mingxian didn't say a word and hugged me tightly. He was taller than Lin Chengdu. The boy's muscles were tense like a mountain, as if he was holding a precious thing that was lost and found again. Okay, I won't leave. Your dad and I didn't take care of you last night because we were afraid that something would happen to you. You're panicked today. Lin Chang and I, who walked up to him, patted his back to bring him back to his senses from the nightmare just now. After several minutes, Lin Mingxian finally recovered, let go of me and rubbed his face, and then hugged Lin Chan and me together. He mumbled something in a low voice. It seemed like, Mom, our family will be together forever, our family. The 5 words, Mom, and our family. Although the voice was so low that it was almost inaudible, seemed to hit the softest and loneliest corner of my heart. It's good to live like this. Lin Mingxian was very hardworking. He never had any suicidal thoughts again. At home, he knew to put on his clothes and help tidy up the house. He would always retort to whatever I said, but he would still listen to me after that. I was also happy to argue with him, and then see him get so angry that his face turned red. Later, he was recommended to a top university and chose electrical engineering as his major. I opened a flower shop near my home. After I got the business done, I contracted fields to grow flowers for wholesale. When the market was good, I could make 400,000 or 500,000 a year. Work at sea was hard and dangerous. The year Lin Mingxian graduated, I didn't let Lin Cheng go. I handed the fields over to him to manage, and I stayed in the flower shop to write articles. I thought it would be pretty good, but Lin Cheng was better at business than me. He was a kind and honest person. In less than half a year, the number of customers doubled, and we had to contract hundreds of acres of land to expand production. If I had met your dad earlier, I would have avoided such a difficult journey. 10 years of detours, Lin Mingxian and I each held half an ice watermelon, sitting under a big poplar tree by the field, showing off that he didn't do that to me this time, looking at the scorching sun in the distance, with stars in his eyes and a bitter but safe arc at the corners of his mouth. If he could meet Lin Cheng earlier, Lin Mingxuan's childhood would have been much happier, at least like an ordinary child. Mom, I will acknowledge you as my mother in this life. Every time people hear that my son has graduated from college, they always praise me for looking young and laughing so happily. Lin Cheng came out of the greenhouse, washed his hands in the bucket, looking for a sense of security. He usually wraps me in his arms out of habit. I scooped a spoonful of ice watermelon and put it into his mouth. He pushed people away. It's so hot. Really hot. But I want to hug you. Lin Mingxian felt like a shining light bulb, and his face immediately fell. He knew that you two had a good relationship. Don't show off in front of single people, okay? I surrender. No one is stopping you from finding a partner. Once you've chosen one, your parents will propose to you. I deliberately clicked my tongue. Xiao Xianxian, don't be in a hurry. You can find one slowly. You're not in a hurry to have someone take care of the child. This sentence made Lin Cheng speechless. He blushed with embarrassment. He chuckled twice, snatched the watermelon from my arms, and squatted aside to eat it.